I'm not skinny, never been
Yeah.
skinny. Growing up in a Caribbean household and certainly going to school, you have people with their messages in your ear telling you that you're too fat, you need to lose weight. Even your doctors getting that message from everywhere that somehow your body is wrong, somehow your body is bad, and somehow no matter what it is that you've done in your life, no matter how good of a person you are, no matter your contributions, no matter your accomplishments, it doesn't matter as long as you're fat. Then that's the one thing that you need to be changing and focusing on. And so I had a really negative relationship with my body. I didn't like my body. I didn't like mirrors. I didn't like looking at myself. I do remember praying to God when I was younger and asking him that I could be beautiful. That was
Yeah.
one of my prayers. Because for whatever reason, I couldn't see the beauty that I already had inside of me.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Meta Transitions. Today we have with us Simone Samuels. Simone is a dear friend of mine, and we're happy to have her on our channel. Today she's going to share a bit with us about her life story, and I hope it will be edifying to you. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you, Tricia. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's get right into it. What is your transition story?
Sure. Trisha and I were talking a little bit before, and we were saying how there's just so many transition stories in life. But I think one of the biggest transition stories, and what I think a lot of people know me for or ask me about, is this whole transition into body positivity. So people must wonder, like, okay, what is body positivity? Body positivity is one stop on your journey in your relationship with your body. It's contrasted from body negativity. So I think that's often the discourse and the parlance that we hear around this a lot. We often hear people
Mhm.
talk about, oh, I hate my body. Oh, I hate my thighs. Man, look at the cellulite. Look at my droopy boobs. Look at, the sagging. Look at the bags under my eyes. Look at, my
Yeah.
blotchy skin. And it's all like bad, 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 bad. Like it's very appearance focused. Whereas body positivity talks about loving your body, appreciating your body. And when I say it's one stop in the journey, it's because there is a little bit of a spectrum for those people in the space. So a lot of times people only have heard about body positivity and they think like that's the goal they need to get to. Oh, I have to get to a space of loving my body. But
Mhm.
you could also get to a space of just being neutral about your body. You don't love it, don't hate it. You're just kind of neutral. It's there. It does what it needs to do. Meh. I have a body and that's it. And then
Yes.
and then the other space, so positivity, body neutrality, and then body liberation, where you realize I'm so much more than my body. So
Mhm.
body positivity is like, beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. Body neutrality is beauty, don't care. And body liberation is like I'm so much more than a body. And who
Mhm.
cares about beauty? I'm more than just beautiful. My body is an instrument and not an ornament. It's not just
Yeah.
there to look pretty. So where I have come in my journey is certainly like I'm not skinny, never been
Yeah.
skinny, except for the growth spurt I had when I was 12. But other than
Yes.
that, never been skinny. And then, growing up in a Caribbean household and certainly going to school, you have people with their messages in your ear telling you that you're too fat, you need to lose weight. Even your doctors getting that message from everywhere that somehow your body is wrong, somehow your body is bad, and somehow no matter what it is that you've done in your life, no matter how good of a person you are, no matter your contributions, no matter
Mhm.
your accomplishments, it doesn't matter as long as you're fat. Then that's the one thing that you need to be changing and focusing on. And that really bothered me. And so I had a really negative relationship with my body. I didn't like my body. I didn't like mirrors. I didn't like looking at myself. I didn't
Yeah.
think I was pretty or beautiful or any of that kind of stuff. And I don't know how this all started, to be quite honest. I really don't know. I do remember praying to God when I was younger and asking him that I could be beautiful. That was
Yeah.
one of my prayers. Because for whatever reason I couldn't see the beauty that I already had inside of me. I
Mhm.
think eventually as I got older, as I moved away from home, as I met more people, as I got into maybe it's because of getting into some feminist spaces as well, I started to
Sure.
hear a different rhetoric about one's body. And I started to hear more about body positivity and this loving your body thing. Maybe it wasn't even called that when I first heard of it, but the idea that I could love my body, even if it may not fit within a conventional norm
Yeah.
of what beauty should be. And then I think what also was the turning point for me is seeing people who look like me, whether in size or gender or race
Mm-hmm.
or color, kind of living their lives and being happy and being prosperous. They're people find them attractive. They're accomplishing things. They're in relationships. And then I started to realize that perhaps the limitations are only in my mind. And so I think that was the biggest transition there in terms of my relationship with my body. I think something happens to people when they move away from their cadre, right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
you move away from your church family, from your nuclear family, and you're on your own, you get a better sense of self. That's why, like, I would certainly recommend to anybody, even if I ever have children, that's a key thing in your development as an adult and your
Mm-hmm.
identity. And part of so doing was trying new things and seeing what's fun and seeing what I
Mm-hmm.
like and what I don't like. And part of trying new things for me was getting into a gym habit, going to the gym more regularly. I mean,
Yeah.
I was going to the gym when I was an undergrad here in Toronto, but it was just kind of like, it was very weight loss focused. I didn't see any other reason why people would go to the gym. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that you could go to the gym because you like it or because you want to develop, improve cardiovascular health or whatever. And then it's only when I was in Montreal and I started working out more that I realized it'd be cool to see instructors who look like me. So
Yeah.
there's that. And then I also started this going to this class called Zumba. And I was just like, I
Mhm.
don't even know what this thing is. But it was so freaking fun. And I would
Yes.
go and I keep going, I keep going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, the gym that was closest to me closed. And
Yeah.
so I had to go to the next closest gym, and I was really cheap in those days. I had just finished school, so I ain't got no money. So I would be walking to these classes.
Yes.
And then, it's a 40-minute walk in, Montreal summer. And I started to
Mm-hmm.
think to myself during one of those 40-minute walks that if I have so much dedication to go to Zumba, then maybe I should think about doing this as a job or a gig or something, pay off those student loans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me interested in it, but I didn't know anybody who
Yeah.
looked like me and was a Zumba instructor. By far, all instructors, fitness instructors to me were thin. Most of them were white.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was the complete opposite. And I also had some very real doubts myself about
Mm-hmm.
my level of fitness. Who do I think I am that I could stand in front of a class and lead a fitness class? I thought people probably wouldn't take me seriously. I thought people had limited ideas about exercise like me. Like if your
Mm-hmm.
instructor is big or if she's fat, then why would you want to learn from her? There's nothing that you can learn from her.
Yeah.
So those were all the things that were in my head. But I figured, you know what, to heck with it. Let me try. You never know. Nothing tried, nothing done. And I did the 1 day licensing to be a Zumba instructor. It's not
Oh, wonderful.
completely involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was January 2016. So it's been 5 years.
Mm.
And
Wow.
it's just been an interesting journey ever since. Fast forward to today, been
Mm-hmm.
teaching 5 years. Right now, I teach online. Body positivity is the philosophy I bring into all my classes. So I have people of all sizes, but honestly mostly people who are of larger sizes in my classes, and they know that it's a fun, safe, non-judgmental space to move their body. They know that I'm not going to talk about diets and weight loss and burning calories and torching and none of that. So it's really a safe space for people who may have disordered eating and that kind of stuff. And they could move just for fun, just for the hell of it, as opposed to
Yeah.
just feeling like it's so narrow in terms of losing weight. And I've been on the Today Show, and I have had, I mean, easily I've taught over 500 people, I think, over the past 5 years. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm very pleased and I'm very grateful to God for like the influence I've been able to have on people just by kind of being authentic to myself and following my own journey.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much for sharing. Like I'm listening to you and I'm just like thinking about, my own story and I'm like, wow, how do I relate to my body? What do I think of it? And sort of just even those three different definitions that you mentioned earlier, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that you could sort of just be neutral, and individuals could just think about neutrality, or there was this idea of, oh, I really just don't care about my body and beauty. I'm just here, and there's more meaning
Yeah.
to my body, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you're sharing from that space, and it sounds like you connected to the body positivity, because it sounds like you are coming from a place of negativity, your negative
Yeah.
relationship with your body, and you wanted to create more positivity for yourself and
Hmm.
for others.
Hmm.
And it sounds like it led you along this journey of figuring out how you can do that. It sounds like one of the pivotal pieces for you was sort of removing yourself from, maybe spaces. So whether it's negative spaces and surrounding yourself with positive people, so community, and then sort of moving from one city to the next, where it's sort of like you're by yourself, needing to figure it out on your own. You don't have the chatter, the
Yeah.
chatter around
Exactly.
you, right? So in a sense, it gave you space to be able to figure out, okay, what can I do? In a sense, you became an agent for yourself.
Mhm.
And Zumba became something that, maybe, I don't know, I don't like to say survivor, but it became, your saving grace, in a sense, where you used it as a tool to help you to think of yourself in a more positive way, and to use it as a way of inspiring positivity in others, and wanting others to recognize that you can accept you for who you are, and by being an example of that, others were able to be inspired.
I never set out to be an inspiration, though. That's the thing. So a lot of times people will say, "You're so inspiring." And it's just like, oh, okay. Yay. I mean, that's great. But I really set out to, okay, get healthier, get fitter, and challenge myself. And being an inspiration is ancillary, right? So
Mhm.
I think it also goes to show that in our transition stories, oftentimes we think it's about us, right? We think it's about us and our change and everything, when in fact we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to, our higher power, or whoever we think has created us, to be authentic to ourselves. And by so doing that inner work for ourselves, that influences everybody else around us. That's why, you know, a change is not so much. I think a lot of people think change is very individual, and not really realizing that there are perhaps other people out there in the world who are depending on you for you to change, for them, in order for them to change. So that's one thing I've started to realize. Like I remember one of my therapists in Ottawa, in my intake, they did their intake really interestingly. It wasn't like, sitting down and talking about, okay, what are you seeing me for? They had this really long, like 2-3 hour multiple choice quiz that I had to go through.
Yes.
And then I met with the therapist afterwards, and I thought she was going to say something groundbreaking and like, oh, you have trauma in some kind of area. All she said was like, oh, it looks like you struggle with authenticity. And I'm just like, authenticity?
Right?
Me,
I know,
right?
I've known you for a while. You pretty
Yeah,
much speak your mind. So,
me of all things, authenticity. So I didn't really know how to feel about that, because I'm like, I
mhm.
paid you $200 for you to tell me that I struggle with authenticity. But the flip side, though, it goes to show, at least for me, that I think a lot of us perform for other people, and we
Mhm.
put all out for what we think will be accepted, right? And we're thinking about, okay, how will other people see me? Or she really got me away from the whole shoulds, right? Don't
Mhm.
should all over yourself. It's not so much, oh, I should go to the gym.
Mhm.
I probably should go to university. I should go to church. I should eat broccoli. Anytime I hear myself saying language around should, then I know that it's not coming from an authentic place. I know that it's being externally motivated.
Yes.
And so I watch out for that, because really and truly, if it's something that's coming from me, I never say should, right? I will say,
Mhm.
I'm going to eat broccoli. I'm excited to go to church. Oh, I'm going to work tomorrow. As opposed to, oh, I guess I should go to bed so I could wake up for work tomorrow. that's an externally imposed kind of expectation. So I think all that to say, authenticity, I think, has been really, really key to my journey. And I've put in a lot of work to making sure that what I do, it like I ask myself, are you doing this because you want to? Are you
Yeah.
doing this because you have to? Or are you doing this because other people are making you do it? And
Mm.
sometimes we have to do stuff because we have to do it. Like I have to go to work. Like it
Yes.
just is what it is. But and that's it's in that area of my life that it's like, okay, I will accept that. But in other areas, I try to really make sure that it's internally motivated, and that internal motivation has, I think, sometimes put me on a off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the whole Zumba came in, because it's not, this is not something I would have ever thought I would do, you know, if you had asked me when I was 16 or even when I was in law school, I would have never ever told you that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna be a fitness instructor. Like it's like saying I'm gonna, you know, fly to Mars. Like it's just so out there. But it comes from like being brave enough, and being yourself does take a certain amount of bravery, but being brave enough to really listen to yourself, and listen to, like, okay, try to figure out who are you really, who you really are, and staying true to that, even though it might not look like it you thought it would look, or like what other people think it would look like.
Yeah, no, I hear that. That idea that, you didn't start out thinking that you're going to inspire anybody or make any change. You started with yourself,
Hmm.
right? And I think that that's sort of the message I'm hearing, in the sense that, if anybody's going to take anything away from this, start with yourself. What is something that you can do to improve yourself?
Yeah.
And then by improving yourself, you get to the place where, you're already exuberating, or, pushing out this energy
Yeah.
that's going to help others, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about a higher power, right? So
Yeah.
both Christians, and
Yeah.
we worship God, and all of that, right? So it's sort of this belief that, in believing that, he created us to be our best selves, and to do what we can to create positivity in the world, right? So if we're working on ourselves, and if it's health, we're keeping our bodies strong and healthy and all of that, then light's just gonna shine, from us to others, and it sounds like that's what's been happening for you, in the sense that, you're sharing your growth, you're sharing the way that you've found to keep yourself healthy, and as well thinking about what you're doing in a positive way. And then others are just like, wow, I really like what she's doing. I want to know how to do that too, right? Which is great. And the Bible talks about gifts, right? It talks about talents and all of that. And a lot of times we don't know what our talents and our gifts are, like true, authentic talents and gifts, until we dig deeper, right? And it sounds like that's what you were able to do with your therapist, right? And that's one of the things we like to talk about here on this channel, the idea of seeking help, right? And normalizing that, and people recognizing that, seeking help, it's not linked to, anything being wrong with you necessarily, or you're crazy or anything like that. It's really helping you to become, a better version of who you are, learning more about yourself. And that's sort of what I'm hearing from you. You're able to learn more about who you are as a person, shed the outer layer,
Yeah.
and, truly be authentic.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point about gifts and talents, what I've also learned is this is why it's so important to exist in community, like you mentioned, right? You know, moving away from community and finding community is important, but it's important regardless to exist in community, because we are blind to ourselves. We don't
Mhm.
see what it is we have. It's typically other people who draw to our attention. Oh, you're good at this and you're good at that. I think for most of us, we take things for granted that we do well,
Mhm.
maybe out of sense of insecurity or humility, right? But it's that's why, you know, kids, like, that's why it's good for kids to go to church. Like, honestly, part of me becoming who I am today was because, you know, I grew up in a community, if not my home, my church family, who's like, you're good at that, we're going to make you do that, you're going to go do that, you're going to do that, because these are things I would not have noticed in myself. And then same thing with Zumba. I would have, I mean, I took for granted that I could teach and I love teaching, and that, people love coming to my class. I just figured, I'm just one instructor like many others. And I am just one instructor like many others. But what made me take this thing more seriously and go further and not just be a Zumba instructor, but like get certified to be a group fitness instructor, then personal trainer and aquafit and all that stuff, is because people would come to my class regularly, like every single class, and say, oh my gosh, that was the best class ever. I didn't even know if I wanted to wake up this morning, and you were the reason I came out of bed and went to class. When you hear praise and feedback like that on a regular basis from different people from all walks of life, you can't take that for granted, right? If you were ever looking for a sign from God, it's like, that's your sign. I've received some beautifully written cards. I have received some beautiful comments. I keep them all because it's a reminder of, like, it's not even like, oh my gosh, that was a great class, thanks. It's like, you changed my life. I have fibromyalgia and Lyme disease. Your class is what keeps me going. If it weren't for your class, I would still be in pain. Like, that type of feedback is like, okay, Lord, you're doing something here. Something's happening here, and I don't know where you're going to take it. It doesn't really pay all that well, but I can't take it for granted. And you know what? I guess that's enough reason to keep going and keep, moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. So, that positive reinforcement that you're getting from the people coming to your class just sort of motivates you to keep going and recognizing that, you know what? If it's reaching people, it must be something from God, right? So and a lot of times we do kid ourselves and we're like, oh, maybe I'll do this for like a year or 2 years or something like that. But then, as you said, like, you get the praise and you get the people sort of telling you that it's life changing, and then you recognize, okay, this is much bigger than me, right? So I completely hear that for sure. All right. Thank you so much for sharing, what you've been doing so far, Simone. And we definitely would want to support, your Zumba classes as much as possible. I know you put up links and stuff like that all the time, on your social media. So, what are, I guess, some places that people can connect with you and maybe even come to one of your classes?
Well, I teach virtually right now because I
Mhm.
don't know when people will be watching this, but we're currently in a pandemic. So,
Yes, yes.
I typically I would be teaching in person, and I would be teaching at like well-known gyms, but right now it's virtual. So
Yes.
I teach for an organization, a business called Body Positive Fitness. They have completely online classes, not just Zumba. They have Pilates, they have yoga, they have strength conditioning, muscular conditioning classes. So that's bodypositivefitness.ca. And when you go there, you could go to their fitness calendar and you could scroll, you could sign up for a pass, a membership pass, or you can sign up for individual classes. They also have a class fund because part of body positivity is about accessibility,
Yes.
right? And so we try to make fitness accessible not only to all bodies and all sizes, but also to all pockets. And so if
Mhm.
for whatever reason fitness is cost prohibitive, there is a class fund. There are scholarships that you could avail yourself of. And then in terms of like following me on social media and like what other stuff are happening, I'm on I am on Instagram as Simone Samuels, that's as my name. So
Mhm.
at Simone Samuels. I'm on LinkedIn. So that's another way to find me. I have a website that people have been finding me that way too.
Nice.
Simone Samuels.ca. And that's Samuels with an S at the beginning and the end.
Okay.
So those are a
All
few
right.
places. Or you can just Google. Honestly, if you Google, if you forget everything, it's like, I don't know, just Google Simone Samuels and maybe like Zumba, and something will pop up. You should be able to reach me
Mhm.
somehow.
Okay, perfect. We will share all of that information in our description below when we send out the video. So again, want to thank you, Simone, for being with us and sharing, such wonderful information and even educating us a little bit on, those three types of, ways that people see their body. And also sort of that idea that we have talent deep down inside of us. We just sometimes need to dig a little deeper and figure out, really what's there and how can we, I guess make changes within ourselves. And then that will then outpour onto others.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tricia. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, there you have it, folks. Another session here at Meta Transitions. We'll see you next time.